I'm not proud of how long it took me to trust my gut. If you'd asked me before that night, I would have told you I'm the kind of person who stops. I've helped strangers change tires. I've pulled over for a lost dog. I've driven a co-worker home when her car died. I'm not naive, but I'm not cold either. That's why what happened on that back road still sits in my chest like a weight. It was a little after 1 a.m., and I was cutting through the rural part of the state on a detour I hadn't planned to take. The main highway was shut down because of a serious accident. Multiple cars, maybe a semi. The electronic sign had flashed a blunt message. Road closed ahead. Use alt routes. Everyone in front of me peeled off toward the same exit like a flock, and my GPS immediately started doing that panicked, recalculating thing, drawing thin blue lines through roads that didn't look like roads at all. At first, the detour was fine. 2 lanes, sleepy town lights, a 24-hour diner. Then the traffic thinned, streetlights disappeared, cell service dropped to 1 bar, and then none. The GPS voice grew more uncertain, the way it does when it's technically functioning but clearly out of its element. Continue for 12 miles, it said, as if 12 miles of darkness was a reasonable request. I kept driving, telling myself the road would reconnect to something bigger. My headlights cut a tunnel through trees and tall grass. Every now and then, a reflective road sign would flare white and then vanish in my rearview mirror. The world outside my windshield felt empty in a way that cities never do. Like if I pulled over and turned off the engine, the silence would be loud enough to hurt. That's when I saw the hazards. Ahead, on the right shoulder, a sedan sat angled slightly toward the ditch, its orange blinkers ticking in a slow, steady rhythm. A person stood near the driver's side door, half in the road, waving one arm high over her head. I eased off the gas. As I got closer, my brain started sorting details automatically. Adult woman, medium height, dark jacket, hair pulled back. She looked frantic, like she'd been standing there a while and was losing hope. The gesture, big, urgent waves, was the universal signal for please, please stop. I felt that familiar tug of obligation. Nobody should be stranded out here at this hour. Even if she had a phone, there was no guarantee of signal. Even if she'd called for help, it could take forever. Then the other voice in my head spoke up. Quieter, but sharper. This is the kind of road you don't get stranded on by accident. I looked at the car. In the strobing hazard lights, I expected to see something obvious. Steam from the hood, a flat tire, a dent, something. But the body looked clean and intact. The wheels looked fine from what I could tell. No smoke, no open trunk, no hood popped. That didn't prove anything. Cars can die without drama. But it made my hands tighten slightly on the steering wheel. The woman stepped closer to the lane like she wanted to make sure I couldn't ignore her. I tapped my brakes gently, more to signal I'd seen her than because I'd decided to stop. My headlights caught her face for a second, pale, wide-eyed, mouth open as if calling out. I started to pull toward the shoulder, and then her body language changed. It was subtle. You wouldn't notice it if you weren't already paying too much attention. But as my car drifted right, she glanced past me, not at me, but beyond me, like she was checking something behind my vehicle or in the darkness to my left. Her waving slowed, then stopped, then resumed with less desperation and more precision, like a performance. My stomach tightened. I straightened the wheel a fraction, keeping myself more in the lane than on the shoulder. A second later, she did something that made the hair rise on my arms. She took a step back from the road, closer to her car, as if giving me space to pull in, as if she was guiding me. I don't know how to explain what that did to my mind. It wasn't one big red flag. It was a pile of small ones forming a shape I didn't like. I rolled down my window an inch, not enough for a hand to get through, just enough to speak. The cold night air slid in, damp and smelling of dirt and leaves. "Are you okay?" I called, keeping my voice steady. "Do you need help?" "Yes, please," her voice carried, strained and breathy. She took a step forward, but not too close. "My car, my phone, there's no signal. Can you call someone?" "I don't have signal either," I lied immediately. I hadn't checked, but I didn't want to admit anything. "What happened? Are you hurt?" "No, just stuck. Please, can you come here? I think something's wrong with it." I kept the engine running. My foot stayed ready on the brake, the gear shift still in drive. I forced myself to breathe slowly. "I can call roadside assistance when I get back to signal," I said, "or I can stay here while you call from my phone if I can get it to work." The woman's eyes flicked to my door handle, to my window, to the lock button. Again, subtle. Again, too specific. I can't," she said quickly. "Please, I need you to just come look, please." It was the insistence that did it. People who are scared usually accept any help offered. They compromise. They take what they can get. Her version of help had a very narrow definition. Me, outside my car. I glanced at her sedan again. In my headlights it looked almost staged, parked too neatly, too calm, hazards blinking like a metronome. I looked past her, to the ditch line and the trees. At first I saw nothing but darkness. Then my eyes adjusted, and I noticed something that didn't match the landscape. A low shape in the grass, darker than the dark around it, where there should have been a smooth slope, a shoulder, a crouched human outline. My heart hit my ribs like it was trying to get out. I didn't stare. I didn't want to give away that I'd seen it. I kept my face aimed toward the woman and forced my expression into something neutral, confused, helpful, anything but terrified. "Okay," I said like I was about to comply. "Hang on." The woman's shoulders loosened, just slightly. Relief, or anticipation. My right hand drifted down, not to the door, but to the lock, checking it without looking. Locked. I reached for the hazard lights on my own car, flicked them on like I was committing to stopping. Her mouth parted like she was about to speak to someone else. That was all I needed. I shifted my gaze again, quick and controlled, scanning the tree line. Another shape, this one closer. Pressed low near a trunk, then a third, almost indistinguishable, as if the darkness itself had elbows. I felt my body flood with adrenaline so fast my fingers tingled. The woman leaned toward my cracked window. Just come." And then, from somewhere off to my left, the grass moved. Not wind, not animals, purposeful movement. My brain screamed one word: now. I slammed the accelerator. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened, just the engine's roar and the tires searching for grip on the shoulder gravel. Then the car lunged forward. The woman's face snapped from pleading to furious, like a mask ripped away. Her hand shot out toward my door handle on pure instinct, but she was a step too far. A figure erupted from the ditch, sprinting toward my driver's side window. I saw a flash of arms, a hood, the pale glint of something metallic in his hand. Maybe a tool, maybe just a phone-catching light. He slapped the side of my car hard enough to jolt it, and the sound exploded inside the cabin like a gunshot. Another man appeared ahead, rushing from the tree line toward the road, trying to cut me off. I yanked the wheel left, staying in my lane, refusing to slow. My tires hummed over the asphalt, then whined as I corrected the fishtail. My headlights bounced wildly, throwing the trees into violent, strobing life. Someone hit my passenger window, either a fist or an object. The glass held, but it made a sharp, terrifying crackling sound, like it wanted to shatter. I didn't look. Looking would have stolen time. I drove like the road was on fire beneath me. The next mile was a blur of white-knuckle steering and shallow breaths. I kept expecting headlights behind me, kept expecting a vehicle to surge out of the darkness, to match my speed, to bump my rear end. I kept expecting that moment when the predator becomes the chase. But the road stayed empty. My hazard lights clicked in the silence like a metronome, my own stupid little soundtrack to panic. I forced myself to turn them off because I didn't want to be a blinking target. I didn't stop until I saw light, real light, spilling over the trees from a gas station at the edge of a small town. I pulled in so fast my tires squealed at the pump. I left the engine running and locked the doors again even though they were already locked, my hands shaking so badly I hit the button twice. Inside the gas station, the clerk looked up and flinched at my face. "I need to call the police," I said, voice cracking on the words. "There are people. Someone tried to on County Road. There's a car with hazards." My phone finally found a bar of service. I didn't even wait for the clerk. I dialed with numb fingers and told the dispatcher everything I could remember. The road, the direction, the hazards, the woman, the shapes in the ditch. When the adrenaline started to drain, something else took its place. Guilt, hot and bitter. Because the woman had looked scared, because she had sounded desperate, because part of me still wanted to believe I'd made it up, that it was a misunderstanding, that I'd abandoned someone who needed help. Then I remembered the way her posture shifted when she thought I was stopping, the way her eyes checked my locks, the way her relief looked wrong, and I understood something that makes my skin go cold even now. They weren't counting on kindness alone. They were counting on the part of kindness that's afraid of being judged. They wanted me to feel like a bad person for not stopping, because that hesitation is what gets your window fully down, your door unlocked, your feet on the ground. That night, I didn't stop. I kept my window cracked. I kept my engine running, and I drove away with my life. But I still think about the next car that came down that road, saw the hazards, saw the woman waving, and believed the performance all the way to the shoulder.